Is what does alien butt candy taste like?
Yo, okay, so that actually was delicious.
Sometimes when I write like big action set pieces, I'm very like, someone's gonna come in and change this. Like, this isn't gonna actually be what it is, you know?
Kara is someone who is neglecting any form of self-care, responsibility.
I don't like that one bit.
There's no home without you, buddy.
Because Superman was so good, it sets them up for success. So I don't think it's an overreaction at all to say could make as much as Superman did.
You sure about that?
I think because she doesn't live inside the binary of what we think a woman should be, that is what makes her so special and so exciting and so new.
I don't understand, and I don't think I want it explained.
I don't understand how you would look at that and be like, man, he looks garbage.
Garbage. Gonna be a win for everybody. Everybody that complains about, Ray and Mary Sue's, that's not the case here.
You sure about that?
I think that what makes this film so beautiful is that it's not centered around a man, it's centered around love and all.
Down with the patriarchy. That's the message.
I think that the process of adaptation is like...
I played a few characters that might have a potential queer through line.
It's hard not to think this isn't going to be a great movie and a great story with great action, with a really emotionally touching moments, which is kind of almost the exact same experience we had with Superman.
However, this movie is bad.
No offense to Kara Zor-El, but I think Clark should ask for the suit back.
Wait a minute, what are you doing? Why did you do that? The whole point of this! Did you miss the whole point? Please go out and support it. Go and support your boy, okay? You want to watch the movie, you're supporting what your boy likes.
Nerdrotic.com.
Greetings, you over 1 million lovers of good things and dislikers of bad things. It's always great when people come together, and no, not in a way that the vast majority of the audience who will be watching this video will think, although that isn't bad either. I'm talking about the communal experience. People from all around the world in all makes, shapes, and sizes, from all political spectrums and all spectrums, experiencing shared enjoyment. For example, there's that game called soccer and the World Cup, where a bunch of foreigners are over here in America realizing it's the greatest country in the world. Based. By the way, you're all welcome back, but there is another type of shared enjoyment that just so happens to be my personal favorite: abject mockery. And this brings us to Supergirl, because it's brought together the most unlikely of groups: corporate critics, YouTubers, and the audience. Because it looks like, for this week anyway, the corporate critics have turned on their masters and the Supergirl reviews have been savage. From The Telegraph, Millie Alcock's surly Supergirl is such a drag. A moody heroine and dialogue with all the snap of an HR tribunal makes watching DC's latest adventure a bit of a chore. From Screen Crush, Supergirl review, steal yourself for a DC disappointment. And then of course there's the good old, the movie sucked, but the star was great because we don't want to make the lead actress feel bad. The Irish Times, Supergirl review, no fun, give us back the hungover barfly. Millie Alcock's spirited performance makes this Superman spinoff just about tolerable, but it lacks a single fresh idea. You're hurting my head. From the Times, Millie Alcock is great, but the CGI dog is barking mad. A grimly unconvincing computerized mutt is one of the many problems with the latest superhero film, even if its Gen Z star has goofy energy. The Hollywood Reporter says Millie Alcock sparks punkish chaos, and Jason Momoa brings bad boy energy, but DC's latest Cape Caper is stuck on autopilot.
Bay reviewers are calling it everything from shit to fucking shit.
From The Independent, Millie Alcock is the only good thing about this ugly, disturbing superhero movie. From The New York Post, Supergirl review, DC is already back to making mediocre superhero movies. I disagree there, because if you're talking about James Gunn's DCU, mediocre would be an improvement. Daily Beast Obsessed says Supergirl is better than Superman, but not super enough. Time Magazine says Supergirl is a dull, dispiriting, fake feminist movie. Well, it's feminist, but it ain't fake. And listen, all of that is savage for the Access Media, who decided to take a week off from polishing the corporate knob, but the most savage goes to Owen Gleiberman from Variety. Supergirl review, Millie Alcock takes charge in a dystopian superhero movie so flat it's super horrendous. It's got a terrible script and a punk rock attitude of corporate pretension. Ouch. Now, all this coming together, giggity, is great, but you know the end is nigh when I agree with Grace Randolph.
And you know, not every movie and show about a female character needs to also double as a feminist manifesto.
Hey, look at us. Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
Can't believe I'm saying this. Based Grace.
Well. So...
And let's be real, because Grace got a blowout before her review. Not that kind of blowout, audience. I can hear you out there. She does Supergirl better than Millie Alcock. All that being said, it doesn't bode well for James Gunn's DCU, or as I like to call it, the Dead Cinematic Universe. But I put this off long enough, so it's time to tell you what I actually thought of it.
Hey, I was just touching base to see when you think you might be coming back. You know, I'm just worried that you're not going to find your stride here.
Let's be honest, it's not a very high bar to clear.
It's pretty colorful, but that's just so everyone knows we're gay.
Supergirl is the very definition of our expectations were low, but holy f***. And I know with everything from The Acolyte to the Marvels, we keep thinking we hit the bottom with Hollywood, but it turns out it's a bottomless pit. If I were to describe Supergirl in one word, it would be ugly. From its color palette, which looks like somebody peed in mud, the light direction, which looks like it was done by a team of Ray Charles, Helen Keller, and Stevie Wonder, to director Craig Gillespie, who did his best to make a bad version of a bad James Gunn movie, to Lobo being played by Jason Momoa as Jason Momoa, to the horrific CGI, including Crypto, who always looks light as a feather even when he doesn't have his powers. At no point do we believe this is a real dog. To the writing from an aged out former actress from the Vampire Diaries, whose writing credit includes a short from 2018. Makes you wonder how she got the job. To the cinematographer who did Millie Alcock no favors. Forget what's happening to her online right now. The worst enemy of Millie Alcock is Rob Hardy, which is really inexplicable because this is the guy who shot Ex Machina, Annihilation, and Mission Impossible Fallout. Millie Alcock looks awful in this film, and I almost feel bad for her because, man, the camera is not her friend in this, but it's not as awful as her character. A female protagonist that's so unlikable, and I can't believe I'm saying this, she makes Captain Marvel look heroic, and now I feel dirty. And I don't want to leave out what is probably the worst superhero villain in the history of superhero films, Krem of the Yellow Hills, who's supposed to look like this in the Tom King Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic, for which I am no fan of, but looks like this in the movie because they need to make it like Furiosa. You see, that's James Gunn's thing now with the Dead Cinematic Universe, making DC superhero films and TV shows based on other films and TV shows, like Peacemaker being inspired by Better Call Saul.
Why?
Or making a Green Lantern TV show ripping off True Detective, or making a Supergirl movie based on a Supergirl comic which rips off True Grit and turning it into a ripoff of True Grit, Fury Road, and Furiosa. And what you end up with is a meandering mess of intersectional feminist gobbledygook with no heroicism to be found, but there is plenty of heroicism, and we'll get to that later.
What is Superman's middle name?
W.
Is it?
I gave that one to you because I didn't want to have to answer it. Does Clark Kent have a middle name? I'm embarrassed that I don't know. He does? What is it?
What's his middle name? I was so close.
In 2025, it was the summer of Superman, and the movie delivered commercially, critically, audience, fans, everybody embraced it.
So I really don't want to hear it anymore. It's just like James Gunn's little bitches who are giving me that problem.
I think she would think, oh, this is like a woman after my own heart. I think she might be like, whoo. I thought I was straight, but wow, she is awesome. Like, I
get it.
Supergirl's opening scene is the very first thing we saw in its first trailer, with Crypto pissing on Superman's face on a newspaper, which really sets the tone for this film and the DCU. The official Supergirl X account posted this review: Gen Z and Gen Alpha traveling through the galaxy to save their dog. And I'm sure Gen Z will be running to the theaters to see themselves depicted as alcoholics who live in filth. Then we cut over to Ruthie, as she witnesses her innocent and honorable family get killed by Krem of the Yellow Hills. And how do we know they're innocent and honorable? Well, Ruthie tells us throughout the film.
He murdered my innocent family.
Then we end up in the first of a few Mos Eisley Cantina bars where Kara Zor-El is doing one of the most girl things ever, celebrating her birthday week. Oh my God, it's time to celebrate me for a week. Ruthie shows up to the Mos Eisley Cantina bar and offers her family sword in exchange for avenging her innocent and honorable family. This must have been the first place she had gone since she is still in possession of it, and of course a large alien steals it from her, but it's okay because Kara Zor-El is there to kick its ass. But there's a problem. Let's talk about power scaling. You know, that thing the media literate crowd and the cinephiles on X think is not important. Yet it is, particularly in this thing we call a superhero movie. There's a point in the film where Kara specifically says she's on a planet with a red sun that looks suspiciously yellow to drink whiskey, and she doesn't have any powers. So how did the 5'2" Kara Zor-El beat the crap out of a giant alien? No idea. Yes, Millie Alcock is 5'2" and 105 pounds soaking wet, and she looks like a hobbit next to David Cornswet. So after Kara saves Ruthie, she says she wants nothing to do with her, and then she goes back to her ship to sleep in filth, where Ruthie followed her home but conveniently waited till the daytime to wake her up, where they conveniently walk outside with Krypto to have a conversation where Krem and the Brigands steal Kara's ship, but not before Krem shows up to shoot Krypto with a poison dart that conveniently takes 3 days to kill him to assist the plot. So now Kara leaves Ruthie behind and catches a ship to go after Krem to get the antidote to the poison. Now, you may ask, dear viewer, why doesn't Kara just take Krypto with her on a ship and go to a planet with a yellow sun to heal him? Don't know. And if this film wasn't annoying enough, after Kara is picked up by the ship, which is actually a bus, its driver needs an interpreter, and it turns out to be a little alien voiced by Seth fucking Rogen. A bus that is occupied by what looks like all the aliens from the Mos Eisley Cantina bar. Bus is then stopped and robbed by a bunch of lesbian space pirates. Kara ends up ejected into deep space where they are conveniently near a yellow sun. And a hero with no powers being in deep space is nothing new to a James Gunn joint, even though this wasn't technically directed by James Gunn. We saw it twice in Guardians of the Galaxy, and I looked it up. Typically, not that this is typical, you would lose consciousness in 15 or 20 seconds, and brain death would occur between 1 and 2 minutes, so I guess it checks out. But this is a big moment because 28 minutes into the movie, we finally see Supergirl using some superpowers in a trench coat. And this entire scene looked an awful lot like the Marvels, and that is not a good thing. Now, Ruthie's stowed away on that bus, and they end up in, wouldn't you know it, another Mos Eisley Cantina bar, where Kara eats some alien poop and agrees to help Ruthie avenge her innocent and honorable family. And if you're thinking to yourself, wow, I've seen an awful lot of this in the clips, you have, and it doesn't end there. Because this movie is written by a woman, Ruthie needs to question why Supergirl isn't called Superwoman when her cousin is called Superman, and the technical answer is it's a trademark issue. So DC Comics could retain the rights to 2 separate and distinct characters. And guess what happens next? If you guessed they enter another Mos Eisley Cantina bar, you win the no prize. Nothing! This time the Mos Eisley Cantina bar is owned by a nice diverse couple, and this is a clip you've already seen. This is where Kara breaks the alien's arm and then murders half the bar to some uplifting happy music. This time the song is I'm in Heaven, a common film trope known as soundtrack dissonance, or for all you cinephiles out there, it's called anempathetic music, a term coined by French film theorist Michel Quillon. But this is the moment fan casters, including yours truly, have been waiting for years. We get Jason Momoa as Lobo as Jason Momoa. And I have to admit, it was disappointing. You can absolutely tell they brought Lobo in out of desperation. They needed to give people a reason to see this movie. He wasn't in the original graphic novel, and breaking news, a solo Supergirl movie isn't that interesting even to comic fans, and worse, it is absolutely stupid to make it the second movie in your DC universe. After that, Ruthie and Kara, who just destroyed their bar, goes back home with the nice diverse couple who promise to help them find the Brigands, where we get a scene that reminds me of Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, because it's time for some flashback exposition. In a clip you've already seen, Ruthie asks Kara if Superman is like her, grumpy and rude, and Kara responds with the now infamous line, Superman sees the good in people, but I see the truth.
He sees the good in everyone, and I see the truth.
See, I did say that.
She then tells the story of her origin, something we didn't get in Superman's James Gunn. Supergirl's parents are Allura Zor-El and Zor-El, played by Mr. Universe from Serenity. And I'm thinking what you're thinking. If I was Zor-El, I'd be asking where Allura's been spending her nights. They live in Argo City, which was preserved by a force field dome after the destruction of Krypton, or Krypton as Marlon Brando would say.
The planet Krypton.
Which was 8 years before Kara was born, so they have been floating in space for over 30 years. And after prolonged exposure to the kryptonite radiation, the population started to die. And yes, canonically, humans can be affected in DC Comics by prolonged kryptonite radiation, like Lex Luthor with his ring giving him cancer. So it's lucky that Zor-El found Jor-El's plans for a ship and sends Kara and Krypto to Earth. I mean, he probably didn't have time to build ships for all the other children. But it's not before Allura gives her daughter a little speech, which is, "When I'm gone, promise me something. Be good. This doesn't mean that you can't be tough. It doesn't mean you always need to be nice. Just be good." Not exactly with great power comes great responsibility, but it explains a lot about the character and James Gunn. Yet, I'm a firm believer in tough but fair. But the only little teensy-weensy problem is it's okay for Supergirl, but it's not okay for Superman, who's portrayed in the James Gunn universe as somebody who's insecure and always walking on eggshells. Not that Superman has to be a dick, but they won't allow him to be confident. That's been the shtick from Hollywood for the last 10 or 15 years. They have to diminish the male character to uplift the female character. And it's been pointed out by many that Superman isn't Superman in James Gunn's universe. He's just Clark Kent all the time. And I'll use the Hollywood terminology here, robbing him of his agency. Speaking of Clark Kent, David Corenswet was in all of the promotion for this, and he's barely in this movie, and when he is, he's just the butt of a joke. And the worst crime against imagination of them all in this horrid film is they double down on Jor-El sending Superman to conquer Earth. Earlier on in this exposition flashback, it is said that Jor-El is Zor-El's crazy brother who sent Superman to conquer Earth. The James Gunn apologists, whose numbers are shrinking right now, are going to have a hard time rationalizing that one, because that is far worse than Jonathan Kent allowing himself to be sucked into a tornado. So after that excessively long exposition flashback, which wasn't good, but it showed more care into giving an origin for Kara than Clark, turns out the nice diverse couple who owned Mos Eisley Cantina Bar No. 3 sold out Kara and Ruthie to Krem and the Brigands. But it's for a good reason, because the nice diverse couple is trying to save their nice diverse daughter from Krem and the Brigands, who is abducting women to propagate their all-male race. I guess they just ditched the girls. I mean, I guess you could say they're pro-choice, but this was certainly written by a woman who's a big fan of The Handmaid's Tale.
Down with the patriarchy. That's the message.
So there's another fight with the Brigands, and Lobo pops up again because he has a bounty on one of them, which was featured in a clip you've already seen. And this is where we need to talk about that pesky power scaling again, because at times Supergirl is fighting at full strength, and then she's fighting like a normal person, and when she's looking for Krem, she forgets to use her X-ray vision. And in the end, Supergirl ends up getting the nice diverse couple and their nice diverse daughter killed, leading to something I've been waiting for, because it wouldn't be a feminist empowerment movie without a feminist empowerment scream. You know what to do, Garrett. Lay it on me.
In the industry, we call them.
But this is where things get really dumb, because after her feminist empowerment scream, angry Kara comes back down to planet Grungy and demands to know where the Brigands went, and after she finds out, she gets on a ship. Why? She's fully powered from a yellow sun and can fly there. But we find out why, because they needed a reason for Ruthie to stow away on the ship and conveniently bring Kara her costume, which she hasn't worn for the entire movie. By the way, they go to a lot of planets in this movie, and they all look the same. Desolate and barren generic sci-fi planet. But the twist this time is Krem and the Brigands laid a trap. This planet orbits a binary star system. One of them is a yellow sun, and the other one is a green sun, which is canonical to the comics and something I've always thought was stupid. I don't hate to break it to you that not every idea from the comic books is a good one. But if you want to roll with everything in the comics being absolute gospel, I can't wait to see Lois Lane turn herself into a black woman in Man of Tomorrow. I mean, you won't do truth, justice, in the American way, but you will use a green sun. Then there's another flashback scene with Kara arriving to Earth and meeting Superman, and you guessed it, it's a clip you've already seen. And big surprise, Superman ends up as the butt of a joke. Now the stowaway saves Kara from the green sun by dragging her into a cave, and then Ruthie thanks Kara for taking her with her, yet she didn't because she was a stowaway on the ship she didn't need to travel in because she could have flown to that planet. Ruthie goes out on her own and eventually gets captured by the brigands, where she ends up in jail with Lobo. After spending the entire film as a damsel in distress and at no point showing that she knows how to fight, Ruthie somehow overpowers a brigand twice her size and helps Lobo escape. Now, how did Lobo get captured by these Z-list villains? I have no idea. He says it was a trap, but it really wasn't. And now we know the other reason Lobo was in this film, aside from getting what's left of the comic fandom to actually see it. It's to affirm all the women. Basically, he's the guy who says, I like this one. Well, I sure hope that big plan to kill Kara Zor-El under a green sun works out before the yellow sun rises, and oh, it didn't. And it finally happens 1 hour and 24 minutes into this 1 hour and 48-minute film, including credits. Kara Zor-El puts on her Supergirl costume, because there's nothing like going to a superhero film where the main character is neither super or a hero and doesn't put their costume on until the very end. Lobo shows up again to desperately make people interested in the final CGI gloopity-glop battle, intermittently set to pop music because James Gunn totally didn't have his hands all over this film and Craig Gillespie independently directed it. In particular, Supergirl's flight scenes just look bad. They make the CW Supergirl flight scenes look good. And when you're making people miss the CW, I would say Paramount, Warner Brothers, or Mount Bros has a big problem on their hands. I would be remiss if I didn't point out that in this final battle, we get this lovely shot. And yes, the final battle consists of a final shot in slow motion panning around our hero beating the crap out of the brigands. A shot that totally doesn't look like that corridor scene from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and the Mr. Terrific scene in Superman's James Gunn. Speaking of which, I was told by James Gunn that all of the DC movies would feel different, and so far, they don't. So after Supergirl frees about a dozen women from the toxic masculinity patriarchy, she talks Ruthie out of getting vengeance for her innocent and honorable family, and once Ruthie walks away, Supergirl kills him, completing the hero's journey, as Jason Malobo watches on and gives an affirming nod. So Crypto is saved, and after spending the rest of her birthday week, Kara crawls back home to Earth and back to Clark and quits drinking for a couple of days, and that's where the movie ends.
Like, to be completely honest, I really appreciate what you guys have done with the show and everything. I appreciate your shows. I think they're fun to watch, whether about my stuff or something else. This was my idea to do, a handful of people whose stuff I enjoy and say, let's give them a little bit of time, because I appreciate, and you appreciate that.
My gosh, thank you so much.
Gatekeeping is important. Not every space is for everyone.
There is way more good than bad in this movie. I'm flabbergasted at the people that are hating on this movie. Did we watch the same one?
So ends Supergirl, a film obviously written by a woman, continuing the trope in Hollywood of replacing the male power fantasy, which sold millions of comic books, billions of dollars worth of toys and merchandise, and billions at the box office, with the female empowerment fantasy, which has led to alienated fans, leading to empty theaters, leading to multiple flops, and leading to killing the money printing machine known as the superhero film. Because nothing makes the modern feminist more happy than taking something away from men. The only problem with that is nobody else enjoys it. And I'm gonna say it, Supergirl is maybe or maybe not the first installment in the DCU, although I prefer the DCU as the dead cinematic universe because that's what it is. Although, can something be dead that was never alive? Supergirl is a slog of a film that makes you feel every nanosecond of that 148-minute runtime, and it's filled with power scaling problems, plot inconsistencies, and contrivances. And Supergirl is the very definition of the hero's journey. What's the hero's journey? Well, the hero's journey is depicted as a circle to represent the cyclical nature of the protagonist's transformation, where where the hero's journey is just a flat line because she's been either great all along or she's just fine how she is.
I bypassed the oppressor.
Her agency and greatness was just held down by some outside force, which is more often than not some variation of the oppressive patriarchy. And if you don't believe me when I say Supergirl didn't really go through a transformation in this film, well, listen to Millie Alcock.
I think that where we leave her at the end of the film, she's a different person a bit. But I think that fundamentally, you know, you don't really change.
Simply put, Supergirl is an uninspiring, insufferable, ugly superhero film that sets back female protagonists in superhero films, female writers for superhero films, and superhero films back decades. Is it as bad as the Marvels? No, but it certainly has its moments. Is Madam Web better? Absolutely, because at least that was so bad it was good. But Supergirl, the movie, not the character, does do some good because it serves as undeniable evidence that James Gunn was the wrong guy for the job. Because if you're going to head a studio that makes superhero TV shows and films, I think one of the most important things is to actually believe in heroism, which sucks because, as I've said before, David Cornsweet seems like a good guy and in better hands would probably be a good Superman. But hey, at least you got to see Supergirl puke, Supergirl pee, and then fall asleep while she's peeing and kill a bunch of guys. And let's not forget the message of this film is be good. You don't necessarily have to be nice or polite, just be good. And I want everybody at Warner Brothers and DC Studios to remember that with this review. And if you needed more undeniable evidence that this is at least, if not the final nail, a nail in the DCU coffin, there is the early box office results and the lowered projections. The combined fan screening and preview night brought in $7.8 million domestically, which puts it just above the Marvels and Madam Web, but below the Flash, which of course was a catastrophic bomb, just like Supergirl will be. Now Variety is reporting it's set to make $47 to $50 million during its opening weekend, and I don't think it even sniffs $50 million, but to contrast that, entertainment reporter from LA, Scott Mantz, is projecting $40 million. And we got some breaking news because the Friday numbers are in and they're not good for Supergirl or James Gunn. It debuted at roughly $18 million, including the fan screenings and the Thursday previews, which puts it just above Morbius, but below Joker 2, The Flash, and yes, the Marvels. To make things worse, Supergirl is going to be the #2 movie in the world over its opening weekend when it gets crushed by Toy Story 5. And it doesn't get any better because films releasing in the following weeks are, in order, Minions and Monsters, Moana, The Odyssey, and Spider-Man Brand New Day, which I wouldn't be surprised has already made more money than Supergirl in pre-sales alone. And by the time Spider-Man Brand New Day comes out, Supergirl might be on VOD. There's a good chance Supergirl might not crack $300 million at the worldwide box office, something that DC Studios now would consider a win according to their Supergirl math. To the man who is about to take over Warner Brothers, David Ellison, once again, this is your chance to be the hero. After firing Alex Kurtzman and recasting Black Snape, you can fire James Gunn. The man has become a liability to the brand. Hell, you can do him like he did Henry Cavill. Listen, we're not firing you despite hiring you. We're just going in a new, different, fresh direction.
We fixed the glitch.
And look who has the last laugh now, because let's face it, Henry Cavill dodged a speeding bullet when he was fired by James Gunn.
Nerdrotic.com.
If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, well, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.